What's happening, people? Hope you're all well. Welcome back to the show. An interesting one tonight. Seeing as it's an international break is pretty much done as far as we're concerned. Thank God. Guys, my mental health is supposed to be better when Arsenal aren't playing. It's worse when it's England and then Southgate. I tell you this now. But that's done now, and we're moving towards the weekend's games, which I'm sure we'll touch on briefly. But today's show is about a combined 11 outside of the European places, and believe it or not, that actually includes West Ham because they're in that Europa stupid conference thing. So we can't pick any of their players. So out of all of the teams left outside of the top 7 of last year, it would have been, we have put together a 1 to 11 of the best overall players, not on form, just by if anyone was to pick, who would you want in your 11? That's what we've gone by. Some people will say it should be form. Some people say it should be overall. And there was a load of debate about that on the show that we've just had, where Dan Lawless decided that Jared Bowen deserves a place ahead of Son. Unbelievable. But there we go.
I didn't get the memo, you know. I done form.
I think a couple of people did do form, and that's why this is going to be interesting because some of our opinions will change. And fair play, man. That's what the debate is all about. So we can look at changing some. But if I'm honest with you, you four, I think, put in very fair teams, other than Billy. We're gonna go into this now, man, and it's an interesting one because I've written down exactly what everyone said. Some of you aren't on the panel, but I'm gonna go through everybody's picks and then we'll discuss it. But first of all, the goalkeeper one. Sarr was picked by one of you, believe it or not, Wolves player. A Wolves fan, Rich. Leno was picked by Emilio. 2 of you went with Emi Martinez, which I thought was, a fair shout in the last couple of years. He's been decent. But 5 of you went with Pope. So Pope wins for this one, man. But I want to discuss about why he wins because I saw him the other night. That guy can't kick for shit, man. Oh, my days.
I actually sent you a text that, didn't I?
Come on, man. Don't start with this already.
Goalkeeper. He ain't built for it. He ain't built for 2022. He's a throwback goalkeeper. I still picked him as well. Forget about the international break. If you look at him this season, Dan, he's been pretty solid. He's been solid.
He deserves it.
He's saved. Yeah. He saved Newcastle. I remember, was it a Brighton game? Was it the other way around? I can't remember, but I thought it was Nick Pope it was Nick Pope that literally saved them. I think he's a solid goalkeeper, but with the ball under his feet, damn, yeah, he hasn't caught up to that area yet, especially with his weak foot.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, listen, he got my vote as well. I did one as well, and he got my vote. I think most people on here went with Pope. I think, Billy, you went with Martinez. Am I right?
No. I went for Pope.
You went with Pope as well? Yeah. Okay, calm.
I want to know who the people were who went with Martinez were.
Well, exactly, yeah.
I was no, believe it or not, actually. I mean, I did send Dan a text after those England performances. I was like, I may need to change the keeper here.
Yeah, I remember. That's right. It was you went for Pope. It was Dan Hargraves, Southampton. Dan, he went for Martinez, and Ash, was it you?
I went for Pope.
You went for Pope. I'm just going to try and look at who it was.
It's all like Maz.
Names.
I wouldn't be surprised. He always gets.
Do you know what it was? Do you know what it was? It was Maz. You know.
Oh, look,
yeah, it was.
I mean, I've got to be honest. It was very.
Yeah, it was Maz.
I think off this year, that's why I went for Pope. I think Martinez is a fantastic goalkeeper, and I think both of them probably get in the top 5 in the league. But I think Pope just edges it for me. I was very tempted. I love Martinez so much, but Pope just won.
When a goalkeeper would rather choose Aston Villa over Arsenal, you can't get in the team. Do you know what I mean? So that's the way I. No, I'm joking. Go on, Ash.
If Schmeichel was still at Leicester, would any of you have picked him?
No chance.
No,
not for me personally.
See,
I've got a bit of beef with Schmeichel anyway after last season.
I'd have picked Kasper all day long, man. He was a leader. He's a title winner. I think he's class, but I can't because he's left. But I'd have picked him over Pope. Definitely.
No, would you though? Hold up. Would you, when you look at where Leicester are in the table now? Like, surely you can't pick a goalkeeper that would be like 20th in the league, conceding that many goals.
Yeah, but he ain't there, so I can't blame him.
Would they be in that position though? That's the question.
If they had Danny Ward out of goal, would they be at the bottom?
I think they will come on. Like you can't put it all on just Schmeichel goalkeeper to save Leicester. I think there's been a bigger problem. I think it's the other players.
I certainly don't disagree, but I think they'd still be down there. Don't get me wrong, but they probably wouldn't have conceded as many as they have. No. That would be my argument about it.
Yeah. I mean, Daniel, he's exactly like the worst goalkeeper I've seen in a. To be fair,
did he not get mentioned? No one picked him.
No one picked him. I mean, now I just remembered who can go. Maybe you might be right. You might be right.
Listen, I'm trying to cause debate, but Pope walks this one. Pete, Pope, it's got to be in it.
Of course. He's been stats-wise the best performing goalkeeper in the league this season. So
Facts.
Look, we can all talk. We can all talk to the England game. He was shocking, and I'm a Newcastle fan, and I admit that he was poor. He actually, for me, looked quite nervous playing at Wembley, starting at Wembley in goal for England. I think there's been a lot of pressure on him, and he didn't perform. But we can't argue as Newcastle fans. He's been fantastic for us. There was a lot of Newcastle fans in the summer that were saying, why did we get Pope? We've got Dubravka. Well, this is why we've got him, because he's outperformed Dubravka easily, which has then forced Dubravka to leave the club. So no qualms for me. Pope is the guy. I do agree with D though. He needs to work on his on with the ball at his feet. His distribution isn't great, but for Newcastle, it's already improved from what we saw at Burnley early on this season, what he's done with Newcastle. So Eddie Howe's already had an impact, but clearly Gareth Southgate can't get the best out of him.
Oh man, let's not even talk about that guy anymore, man. I'm just done with him. I'm done with him, man. Pope gets in, man, for me, and I think it's deserved, man. Right back is an interesting one because it was only between all of you 2 people that anyone went for. There's 9 of us that voted. Only 2 right backs got a mention. Ash and Emilio went for Tariq Lamptey, but the other 7 of us went for Kieran Trippier. I put Lamptey in, funny enough, and I was like, man, what am I doing? Trippier, he gets in all day long. For me, this guy is wicked, man. I'm a big fan. It's hard for me to say because obviously he was once a Spurs player, but I think this guy is wicked, and I don't really think we're going to get much debate. Ash, I know you put Lamptey. I think it's fair to say though, I mean, listen, I love Lamptey, by the way. I think he's a wicked player, but I think Trippier probably gets it. Would you agree, Ash?
Absolutely. Coming to think of it, he's just a great all-round right back, isn't he? And it was a toss-up between the 2. And do you know what? In the end, I just think it was the fact of him sort of coming back to the Premier League after playing away and been at a few clubs and stuff. Whereas Lamptey's, there's still that question mark of how great he could be, and he's made a steady start. So, but I agree with you guys. Trippier probably,
Fair play, man. D, no Joel Warder in there, no? Or who else is your right back?
Taking a piss.
Fine.
Nathaniel Klein. If I had to put Nathaniel Klein there ahead of other players, this league is finished. That's what I have to say. Like, Nathaniel Klein, he's good. Like, I love him, but he's like 33. How old is Nathaniel Klein now? He's
I don't even know.
His 30s. He's gone past his 30s, and if I had to put him there now, that Trippier. There's even that debate about whether he's better than Trent Alexander-Arnold. That's the levels he's reached this season. Last season, I didn't hear anything like that. Now this season, it's getting mentioned. There's talks about it. I think he's like the clear favourite. Lamptey, I understand it to a certain degree, but then again, I think Trippier's had the better season, and the impact that Trippier's had for Newcastle has been massive. Like, you can't deny that. He's a proper leader as well.
Fair play, man. Fair play. I think that is, for me, clear. I mean, Pete, when you signed him, you must have thought, good signing. Been and done everything, been in a couple of leagues, and he's been great for you, any man.
Honestly, we shouldn't even be able to pick him, if I'm honest with you, because he should be in the top 7. And that's kind of, the plaudits.
Very humble, bro. Very humble, bro.
Yeah, that's the plaudits that I should give for our ownership, for managing to get him for £12 million,
bargain,
which is even more of a bargain from the La Liga winners at the time, Atletico Madrid. But he could be playing for any of those top 7 teams, and I don't think anyone would argue with him being in those teams and starting. He has been outstanding. I'll be honest with you, he was in my team, but he wasn't my right back initially. I changed it. When I messaged you, I told you I changed it last minute. So he wasn't originally. He was in my team, but he originally wasn't my right back.
Who was the right back?
My right back wasn't anyone that you guys have mentioned, and I'm shocked because I absolutely love this guy, and I actually hope we sign him next season to kind of beef up our squad. And it's Carl Walker-Peters at Southampton.
Oh, fairs.
I really like that guy. I think he should be knocking on England's door at some point when the likes of Carl Walker steps away. I think he's a terrific right back. I think he's very, very good. And I don't think he should be playing at Southampton personally. I think he should be playing far higher up the league for his ability. I've watched him quite a few times. Even last season when we beat them at their place, he destroyed us for long parts of the game. He was very, very good. So he was my right back and I had Trippier elsewhere. But I made a switch. Like I took him out last minute.
Do you know what's funny, right? Dan, he can't be with us tonight. Dan Hargrave, Southampton. He goes, "This is my team." And he put it to me and he said, Trippier right back, KWP left back. And he put in brackets, "I'll explain this when I come on."
So
We'll never know.
I had it the other way around. I had Carl Walker-Peters right back and I had Trippier left back initially.
Do you know what? When he was at Spurs, I didn't rate him, Walker-Peters. I thought, who's this guy? I know he got 18, 19 at the time. He's been quality for Southampton, mate. He has been so good for them. So, yeah, I think you're right, Pete. I think he will get a bigger move. And I think we were sniffing around him when we were looking at right backs, thinking, how good is Bellerin, Cedric options? We need to be looking at right back. Tomiyasu's now there, but he's like the only one. Ben White's playing there at the moment. I think that'd be a great signing for Arsenal personally. So, yeah, I'm a big fan, to be honest with you. So I don't think that's a crazy shout at all. But, yeah, Trippier walks in, man. 7 people went for him. I don't think there's anyone. That one's not really debatable for me. The other options people were looking at discussing, Matty Cash, I think, has been a good player for Aston Villa, Billy, to be fair to you. Yeah. And obviously Kyle Walker-Peters, but nobody else really got a mention out of that. I think Trippier took the plaudits and rightly so. This is where it becomes interesting. I'll tell you what, let's go left back, actually. Let's go left back instead of centre backs. Let's go left back next. I'm going to tell you who people have gone with. Kyle Walker-Peters was obviously one from Dan, who said, I'm going to put him left back because I can't really leave Trippier out. Emilio went for Robinson, the Fulham left back. Emilio's going on Fulham players here, man. I'll tell you this now. He can't go for him, man. He's not been in the league long enough to even have him discussed. So I'm not having that one. Rico Henry, D, that was you from Brentford.
Shout.
Yeah.
Which is a good shout. Castagna. Pete, was that you or am I made that up? That was you. I thought so. I thought so. I like him, actually. I think he's a good player. And the one that I went for, which nobody else did, was Tariq Mitchell. That's who I went for. I think Mitchell.
I was close to. I've got to be honest. I think
he's been wicked, man. About 2-3 seasons now, I'm like, this kid looks rock solid and like hard, like proper warrior for me. And he's got an England call up now. But then I looked overall, and I guess I agree with what everyone's gone with, and that is Luka Dean.
Yeah.
Majority of people went for Luka Dean.
Oh, snap.
And I think.
Forgot about him. I'm still sticking with Rico Henry anyways. I'm still sticking with him.
And you know what? Fair play to you, man. He's been quality, Rico.
And he's been quality, and he's been one of them players where, I don't know who said it, someone said it before the England call-up, that he should be one of the names getting mentioned in there. And I don't think he's got the credits that he should have had so far this season. He's been very solid for like Brentford. And
he was last season as well.
Exactly, yeah. He's been doing it for a while now as well. But I feel like slowly people will catch up to him, because I'm not hearing his name get mentioned as much in general. But now that you've had this England, like how England been playing, etc., I think more people will slowly be looking at, who else have we got? Rico Henry. Oh, let's look at him, and he's going to be more of the mention, and especially in the Premier League, when people watch Brentford. I think if you look at Rico Henry, he's involved. Like, he's there every single game, and he's a very influential player.
Yeah, man, I thought it was an interesting one, because you're the only one who went for it, and I thought, actually, why is he the only one? Because that is a shout. But for me, Luka Dean, I think what he's done at Villa and Everton, I think he deserves to be there overall. I think he's a really good left back. He ain't been great, to be fair, Billy. Is that fair to say? But he's obviously a good player.
Yeah, that's certainly fair to say. He's not particularly reached the heights that I'd hoped he would have by now. But the way he was at Everton, the player he was at Everton speaks for himself, and that's ultimately why I went for him. Really, he's been a massive upgrade for us on Matt Target. So while he's not been.
Go on. You might something. You might beat there.
All I'm going to say is in my opinion, in the time that those two players have been at their respective clubs, I actually think Matty Target's outperformed Luca Dean. I didn't pick
Rico Henry.
I didn't pick Matt Target, obviously, purely because I don't think Matt Target's had a good start to the season. But I get what you're saying. On paper, Luca Dean is the choice. For me, it was either initially Luca Dean or Tyrick Mitchell, because I think Tyrick Mitchell, I love that guy. But I don't think he's season well either. And Dean might agree or disagree with that. But Luca Dean, for me, I don't think he's played well at Villa. I don't think you've even seen.
No.
I think it's fair. I think that's fair.
Of what he's capable of. Personally.
I do agree with you completely. And again, with what you've said, I think Matt Target certainly had more of an impact at Newcastle than Luca Dean has at Villa. And in our second season in the Premier League, Matt Target was phenomenal. He was, I can't remember whether he was Players' Player or Supporters' Player of the Year, but he won one of them. He was fantastic. Next season, I don't know what happened, whether it was Grealish leaving, because I know they had a close bond on and off the pitch. But he just wasn't the same player, and he was just awful. He's just gone from two ends of the spectrum like that overnight, and it really showed that we needed to replace him, because I knew that he wasn't going to be the left back that we needed to push us to Europe. So we needed to replace him with someone. Aaron Hickey was a player that got mentioned now at Brentford, of course. There's several players that got mentioned. And we didn't sign someone in January the summer, and then Steven Gerrard came in, and we got an immediate upgrade when Gerrard came in with Luca Dean. And while I do, like I say, I completely agree with what you've said. For me personally at Villa, Luca Dean is the better left back, and we've seen, from what I've seen anyway, he's having a better impact at Villa than what Matt Target was having, if that makes sense.
That's fair.
But as an overall pick from what he did with his time at Everton as well, for me, it just had to be Luca Dean.
Yeah, Ash, you've gone for Dean as well. I think Castagna was one that Pete mentioned, who I actually think is fair play. Like Castagna's a good player. What? I mean, you went for Luca Dean, Ash. Are you happy to stick with that? You're on mute, bro. By the way. You're on mute, Ash.
Right, yeah. I'm going to stick with Dean. I think he's a great all-round left back. Castagna is great, but I suppose, you know what? I just sat and thought about the left backs that Leicester had lost in the last few seasons, or 5-6 years. We've lost Chilwell and Fuchs before that. So, in comparison to them pair, I don't know. Castagna, I like him, but I don't think he'd get in my top 11 from watching him. I think Dean is a better left back.
Go on, D.
Yeah, Dan, hold up. We're talking about Luca Dean not having like the greatest time at Aston Villa. When we're talking about Rico Henry, he's been very solid and is in contention to be called up to England squad. So what's the process of picking Luca Dean over Rico Henry? Because I don't understand.
Listen, I think he's a good shout.
Right now, Rico Henry is the better player. So I think
I'd
you're right.
At this moment in time, he's probably the better player.
I think if we were going by form,
my pick personally was a general Premier League thing. Don't get me wrong. A lot of my picks in the team vary a lot on overall general Premier League players.
We're not doing this 7 games in. If we were, then it would be a different team.
No, but not even only 7 games in. So when did Luca Dean join Aston Villa? He joined
last January.
Last January, yeah.
So if we're looking at, forget about 7 games, if you're looking at last season and this season, and even talk about Luca Dean at Everton, he was very solid. But Rico Henry's always been like there and about. Just guys don't speak about him. That's the only problem.
I think you're right, man. I agree. I can't sit there and say you're talking rubbish. I think you're talking facts. I would say, I'll tell you what, right? I'll tell you what, because me and Ash are the only one. I went for Mitchell. Ash went for Dean. Billy, you went for Dean as well, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Pete went for Castagna. D, you went for Henry. Seeing as the other guys haven't bothered, let's do this now. Are we happy to put Luca Dean in this side, or is there a shout for Henry or Mitchell? Let's do one vote and go around. So let's start with you, Billy. Who are you going with? You sticking with Luca Dean, yeah?
Yeah, I'm sticking with him, but I think there is a shout for both of them. They're both fantastic players, but I'm still sticking with Luca Dean.
Okay, we've got to pick one of these three, man. Ash, who are you going with?
I'm mirroring what Billy said. I'm going to stick
Luca
with Dean,
Dean.
but there is a shout
Okay.
for the other guys.
D.
Before I pick, just make sure Pete and Dan, you think about your options. it's gonna be one of you lot to carry this. So I'm picking Rico Henry, and just remember that Luca Dean's been there for 6 months, and look at Rico Henry ever since Brentford got promoted as well. I'm just speaking to you, Pete and Dan. Just remember this, yeah, when you're picking your option. Rico Henry is it.
Well, we might not. We might both pick Mitchell instead of Rico Henry, and there'll be 2-2.
You're just gonna ruin it. You can't do that.
Mitchell's in the same. Mitchell's in the picture as well, bro.
I love Ty, but we're talking about Rico Henry versus Luca Dean. You can't just pick Tyreek
Mitchell. Mitchell as well, bro. It's either Mitchell, Dean, or Henry. 2 votes for Dean, 1 vote for Henry. 2 people to go. Big Pete, what are you saying?
You know what? I'm tempted to throw Matty Target back in there. I am
serious contenders
because of the criteria. I'm thinking, you know what? I'm going to throw him back in, but I'm not. Look, I agree. I agree with D. I would go Rico Henry. I'll be honest. Just like you did. You kind of forgot about Luca Dean. Well, I forgot about Rico Henry. Because I like that player. I think he's brilliant. Had a really good end to the season, and he started well too. So I think he's outperforming Luca Dean at the moment. I think they're both great, very good left backs on their day, but I think Rico Henry's outperforming Luca Dean at the moment. So if you had a choice between the two, I'd go Henry.
Yeah, you heard that, Dan.
Okay, so I did hear this.
God, it's the Simon Cowell moment.
This is the Simon Cowell moment. I'm going to leave it to the public vote. No, I'm joking. Nah, listen. Okay, let's remember what this is, right? If this was which is the best combined 11 of players on form right now, Rico Henry walks in ahead of Luca Dean. Overall, for the last 4-5 seasons in the Premier League, I've seen Luca Dean play 3 seasons for Everton and now 1 and a bit for Villa. And I think you have to go with Luca Dean, man. I love Rico Henry. I would have gone Mitchell ahead of Henry personally, because I think what I've seen from 2-3 seasons now from Mitchell is better than what I've seen of 1 and a bit of Rico Henry. But I get the Rico Henry love, and I think he's a quality player. But I'm going to go Luca Dean. And to be fair, I should really, because everyone else went for him that weren't here tonight. But I love the way you fought for him, D. And do you know what's even funnier? He's fighting for someone who wasn't even on his team. The other guy I'm trying to put in, he doesn't want to know. Don't put the Palace left back in.
Don't let Maz hear this because he'll go against his agenda.
He'll love it, mate. He'll be clipping it up. He'll be clipping it up, brother.
No one fancies Solly March, you know?
No one fancied Solly March or Veltman
There's a reason for
or
that.
whoever else they have. I don't know.
We're talking about actual real 11. Yeah.
Listen, we got so far Pope, Trippier, and Luca Dean, right? Yeah. Centre halves. This is an interesting one. This is what everybody's put, right? So Billy was drinking the old punk and he put in Diego Carlos.
I put a slash there. I put a slash there.
It's been like one game and it's already one of the best.
Rich from Wolves put in Max Kilman, which, to be fair, I actually think that's a shout to actually consider. He's not going to get in, but actually he's been wickedly consistent for the last 2-3 seasons, man. I think he's been well good. The other one's Shah. I think Pete. Was that you, Pete? Did you put Shah in?
Me.
Oh, it was you, D. It was you, D.
No, I didn't put Shah in.
D
Pete,
put Shah. Okay.
You know what? Then, I went for your boy instead.
No, I got both of them. Like, you can have 2 defenders, you know. I went for both of them together. Oh.
Well, this will be interesting then. Dan Byrne got a pick.
Yeah.
Webster got a pick. Lewis Dunk D got a pick.
Wait,
Your
let me
guy.
guess. Let me guess. Out of the 7 people who picked him, let me guess. Maz. No one else.
Nobody else has
apart
picked him.
from him. Exactly.
And then there's four players that got more than one vote. In order, Sven Botman got 2 votes.
Oh yeah.
Tarkowski got 2 votes.
Ooh.
But the 2 that come out on top were the Crystal Palace centre halves, Mark Gahey and Anderson. Both of them come out on top. Gahey got 5 votes and Anderson got 3. So listen,
Wow.
it's
The agenda's
a
working. I'm doing my job good then on the show.
And do you know what, D?
I don't
Do you
even
know
have
what,
to
D?
vote for them.
You could have had Mitchell in there as well, but you didn't want to know.
Exactly. And people had Mitchell instead of me, so the agenda's working well. I've been doing my job here great. That's fine. That's good to
But
hear.
look, I think everybody there deserves a mention, other than Diego Carlos. Sorry, Bill.
Yeah.
Other than him, everybody deserves a mention, right? Because to be fair to Brighton, as much as I know D, you muck around with Maz, they have been those players have all been half decent for Brighton under Graham Potter. It might go wrong for them now, but they have been decent and deserve a mention, right? But I do actually agree with the majority of the vote. I think these 2 at Palace look ridiculously good together, man. Particularly Anderson. Everyone gives Mark Gahey a lot of time, and I get that. Maybe it's because he's English and young, but Anderson has been a solid rock, mate. Against Arsenal, first game of the season, this guy was wicked. I know we beat them, but he was so good, man. And for Fulham, he was wicked as well. So I think that's a quality signing from Vieira, man. So Pete, let's come to you, man, because I know you had different centre halves, but you did go for one of them. What's your thinking?
Well, yeah, I went for Gay just because I've been impressed with him ever since he's been at Palace. He looks like a top centre back. I'll be honest, if Shaw's 29, 30, very, very good player, but I'd be looking to potentially take him away from Palace and bring him up to the northeast as a
tricks
replacement.
ain't working with us. At least 150 mil for Newcastle, and Eddie Howe will be crying afterwards, saying he's only charging us. Yeah,
no chance. We'll give you 40 with some structured payments.
Over 10 years. Like Arsenal offered like for Zaha. Like what was it? It was like 80 million over how many years?
Yeah,
and we'll probably be in League 2 by the time Arsenal paid us off.
We'll do what we did with Willock. We'll do what we did with Willock. Pay 25 million, but 5 million a season. We'll do that. That's
we did. We paid 70. We paid 72 for Pepe over about 400 years. So it can't be done.
That's what we tried to do with Zaha as well. I was like, no, man.
It's mad. We are mad when it comes to that.
Gay is for me guaranteed. It was always going to be one of my choices. And then the boy Sven Botman. We still he's had a really good start to the season. He did play against Bournemouth. I think he had a bit of a niggle, pulled out the Dutch 21s. Looks like he's fit to play at the weekend against Fulham. But honestly, in my opinion, that guy's going to be an absolute beast. He, in my opinion, and I'm putting it out there now, is only 21, 22. I think he'll be, in years to come, as we grow as a club, I think he'll be pushing the levels of the likes of Van Dijk. He's that good. Honestly, the guy is seamless on the ball. He plays watch him play. He plays everything one touch. Everything is one touch. He doesn't need 2, 3, 4, 5 touches on the board. He's so comfortable with both feet. He's as strong as an ox. I was there at Molineux when he came up against Raul Jimenez. He bullied Raul Jimenez, made him look average, and he's a good player. And he's done that. The only game he struggled with is against Haaland, but I think everyone struggles against Haaland. But still, he won a lot of his battles as well. I just think he's a top centre-back. He was assuring for me. So yeah, they're my two picks.
Ash, can you go against Gahey and Anderson, bro? Who did you go with? I can't remember.
I went with Byrne and Tarkowski. Yeah.
Tarkowski, sorry?
None of the Palace boys.
Byrne.
Tarkowski. Burn.
Yeah.
I expected better. Oh no, it's not Brighton now. I forgot. For a second, I thought Dan Burn was at Brighton. No, sorry, Pete. Sorry.
No, he's one of our boys.
I just remember him being at Brighton.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I like him. I do like it. But again, 2 centre backs didn't really think about in Gay and Anderson, so I just didn't think of them. But yeah. great shout. But I would stick with mine. I am going to back my boys.
Fair play, man.
I like that.
No, fair play. Billy, Diego Carlos, I think you must have been smoking your marijuana or something, bro.
There was a slash there. And the two initial picks I put were both Gurhey and Anderson. I put Carlos there because when he was playing for us, he looked solid. He's been a solid centre-back for Sevilla. I know it's not the Premier League, but he's been a solid centre-back for Sevilla for a few years now. So I felt like he still needed a mention. He still needed somewhat of a mention. But he was never going to be put in here, let's be honest. But yeah, Gurhey and Anderson, the partnership that they've got is incredible. Anderson, I've been a massive fan of ever since Fulham. Really wanted Villa to get him after Fulham got relegated. Of course, Palace nipped in and got him instead. And Gurhey, I mean, what a player! Both of them together are going to be a formidable partnership for years to come, unless a Newcastle come in for one of them or anyone else in that top 6-ish bracket.
They want to pay. I'm sure they want to pay for a proper manager. Not Eddie Howe. It's a manager that got relegated before.
Oh,
I'm joking. I'm not doing this. B, I like you. I like Newcastle.
For a second there, I was thinking I was mass for a minute. He just drew it out on me like every 5 seconds.
No. I don't. It's funny because I was joking about picking a Palace side, and we've got a Palace defense. Literally, you could have potentially had Mitchell there, Joachim Anderson, Mark Gahey. Funny enough, I just picked Anderson over Mark Gahey because Anderson is a very good footballer, and we saw it at Fulham as well before he joined Palace. But where he's improved this season is we saw him at Palace. He had difficulties with aerial duels, and his defensive game wasn't as great as his attacking style of play in terms of passing out from the back because he has an amazing pass in him. But this season, he's literally the complete defender. Like he can literally do everything, and he has done everything. He's very good in the air. He's very good defensively. And it's funny because when we talk about youngsters improving, we talk about the age of 21, 22. But Joachim Anderson, he's not 21, 22, but I've still seen a massive improvement in his game from when he joined Palace to now. Over this past year, he's become a great defender as well as a great ball playing defender as well. Like he can defend and he can also ping out the passes. So for me, Joachim Anderson has to be there. I feel like he's all the other clubs that don't see who's been better than him so far this season. But the second option is where it gets interesting because I like Mark. I like what he's done this season. And I feel like with Mark Gahey, we reached a point where he's become normal, like his performances. And I think it's
typical performances,
solid defender. Yeah, it's what you expect from Mark Gahey. So that's why you see people talk about him, but not as much because it's who Mark Gahey is. But funny enough, I didn't pick him because I would get hammered for picking all Palace players. So I went for Shaw. But then saying that, there's also other solid defenders at Newcastle that I could have picked. Dan Burn, yes, I could pick him, but there's links there that I don't want to go into. So the other option I looked at is Shaw because by statistics, I think Shaw's had a very good season. He's been he's been very solid. So for me, Joachim Anderson and Shaw next to each other, that's a duo that is going to be very hard to beat. But then again, there are also other good players that you can mention there. Mark Gahey also fits in there. As we've seen at Palace, it's very hard for teams to beat them too as well. So, I went with the Newcastle Palace option, but I could have easily went with Mark Gahey and Joachim Anderson. But this season, Joachim Anderson, you can argue, is a better player than Mark Gahey. In terms
I would say that this season, I think you're right, man. And listen, the way I see it is Gahey and Anderson's a good shout. I totally agree with Pete. By the way, I think this Sven Botman kid's gonna be wicked, man. And Lille, big up Lille. Their scouting is ridiculous, man. All these players over the last 10 years that have come to the Premier League, from Hazard right the way through to Botman, it's mad. Other than Pepe, it was a lot of money.
Don't forget Johan Kabay.
Johan Kabay.
He's at Palace today. You know what? It's funny, Pete, because does he ever go to Newcastle? Like, does he go back to Newcastle to visit? Johan Kabay.
Look, you got to remember, we had Mike Ashley for 14 years. He didn't let any ex-player
Yeah, I
come
know,
back
but
to
right
him.
now you don't have Mike Ashley, and it's funny because Johan Kabay is like a Newcastle. I remember at Newcastle was doing bits. He went to PSG, but he's got more of a connection with Palace. Like today, even now, right now, he's at Palace game watching the under-21s face PSG. It was funny what Palace are facing PSG, but it's actually interesting. I was thinking about that. He actually likes Palace more than Newcastle, which
I don't think so. I don't agree.
I mean,
to be fair, he always tweets our stuff from Newcastle. And what we're doing as a club, obviously we're rebuilding, but we're inviting game by game a lot of the ex-players. So we're going back to old school ex-players. And we even had like Bassong that came back to us. He only played a season for us, but we're building back and we're inviting different players every time. So he'll be back at some point for sure.
Yeah. But he just feels at home at Palace. We don't invite him. He just comes to us. But yeah.
Look, let's not lie. He only came to watch PSG under 21. You know the truth.
He came to pick up tips from Patrick Vieira. Maybe he might pick up a few tips from Eddie Howe as well. But I mean, if you're not winning games, it's a bit difficult, ain't it?
Man, this is turning into a Newcastle Palace.
You can't stop him.
Maz is gone, so he has to now pick on Pete. You know what I'm saysaying?
I need to stop. No, it's just with Newcastle. Look, we talked about it at the start of the season. It's funny because I did say with Eddie Howe, I remember, I don't know if you guys remember this conversation. I did say it. Just wait. Don't sleep on the 6 months. You've had some good performances, but 1 win in 7. You expected better from Newcastle in that terms, like.
Yeah. Look, you're right. I think if you're a Newcastle fan, we would have expected to do better. But at the same time, we've only lost 1 game in 7, so it depends on how you look at it.
You can look at both ways. But Bournemouth,
we should have won. Yeah,
should have beat us.
We agree with that. We should have beat you guys, and we had a goal ruled out. We can't do anything about that. Although Isaac should have scored, but we've gone toe-to-toe with Man City. Would have expected to lose that. We should have got at least a point at Anfield. We've gone to places like Brighton, Wolves, and got points out there out of those games where we haven't necessarily played our best. But it is what it is. And the thing about it is that Newcastle were playing Champions League level football in terms of our form at the back end of last season. We're not going to need that over the course of this season to be able to. We don't need to replicate that. If we do, great. But we just need to be consistent in constantly picking up points, because there will be points in this season. I've got no doubts that Newcastle United will win back-to-back games over a period of time. So over the course of the season, I think we'll be exactly where we need to be. And Eddie Howe doesn't get spoken about enough. The work that we see on a daily basis that he does and is doing to the club and improving players is unreal. And we're just about to sign an Australian wonder kid as well. So keep an eye out for him. Garan Kuro.
You know, I just play a Football Manager, man.
Honestly, this guy, if you've not seen the clips, go look at my profile, and I've liked and retweeted some of the clips of this guy. This guy is only just turned 18 years old, Australian international, just got his full cap. He looks an absolute player. Just reminds me of Ousmane Dembele so much. He looks like an absolute baller.
Next Harry Kewell or Mark
just about to sign him. Yeah.
Man, Newcastle are going to do bits, man. In the transfer window, it's going to go nuts, man. Let's move on to midfield, man, because this one, the way it's been picked, by the way, is a 4-3-3 because of what people have suggested. So it has fitted into a 4-3-3. I think Billy was on his 4th bottle of wine when he picked Boubacar Kamara.
Mate, he's been phenomenal this year. He gets in every single day of the week. I'm ready to come out swinging.
No, we can't do this. We can't, because if that's the case, Enrico Henry should be in this team as well. We can't do
this. I held my hands up and said a lot of my picks are both based on overall Premier League and a few on form. So my team's a mix of all.
If you back me with Rico Henry, I would have backed you here. I can't. I can't.
The other guys were really close, really close. 3 votes went for Ruben Neves. 3 votes went for Paulinho from Fulham.
Yeah, very good player.
4 votes went for Yuri Tielemans, and 5 votes went for Bruno Guimaraes. So the 2 that we're going with are Bruno Guimaraes and Yuri Tielemans. Now, I think if we were on form, that might change because Paulinho has been unreal for Fulham. Like, he's been ridiculously good. I've been so impressed with him, man. Really, really have. Neves, and Tielemans, over the years, they've been great for Wolves and Leicester. And I think overall, both deserve a mention. I can see why people have gone with Tielemans and Bruno Guimaraes. This Bruno Guimaraes kid is ridiculous, man. I wanted him at Arsenal in January, and we decided to do sweet F4. Newcastle then go and buy him and then end up ruining our top 4 chances by scoring against us. This guy is ridiculously good, man. Like, honestly, Pete, I think you've got an absolute monster there in the middle, man.
We have got a monster. Look, I've got a massive smile on my face because I think every Newcastle United fan is thinking, how the hell have we got this guy playing for Newcastle United in our current state? This guy is elite Champions League level. He is that good. He could play in any Premier League team and would start and be one of the star players in any Premier League team. I'm talking Liverpool, Man City. I was interested. I was listening to someone talking about Liverpool who was close links to Liverpool, and they were saying that if they were to go for any centre midfielder right now, it'd be Bruno Guimaraes. And when you've got teams at that level looking at him, it just shows what type of a player we've got. He is a special talent, and we're just fortunate to be able to watch him. And you know what? He's infectious. The way he trains is the way he plays. He just demands the absolute best from everyone else. He raises the level from everyone else, and the way he manipulates the ball is just it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, he is mad.
Are we going with one holding midfielder or 2?
So I suppose we go for 2 at the base with a number 10. So that's what we've gone with.
Cool.
And I can't leave the other guy out. You all know who he is because he's got 8 votes. So he's got 7 votes. Sorry, but listen, I agree. Bruno Guimaraes walks into this side, but Ash, I want to come to you on Tielemans because I know it's a player you thought was going to go. He ends up staying. Overall, though, he has been unreal for Leicester. Like, he's been such a good player for me, and I really wanted him in the summer. In the summer. Looks like January could be possible. Looks like probably more than likely to be on a free transfer, if you ask me. But this guy deserves to get in this side, doesn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. His passing of the ball is unreal. He's just a fantastic football thinker, I'd say. He reads the game very well, and he's very passionate as well when he plays for Leicester, and always has been. Even now, with all the contract speculation, like on his Instagram and his tweeting, he's still very, very passionate about putting the shirt on and doing a good job. And I think that's all you can ask for in a footballer, as well as showing quality. And he's done that since he's been at Leicester.
Yeah, man, I can't disagree with that. And, Billy, I know that, you wanted Kamara in because he's quality. And listen, he's a good player. But I think overall, these two just look different level to me, man.
Yeah, I mean, Bruno's gets in every single day of the week. And I can completely understand why Tielemans does as well, because I'm a massive, massive fan of Tielemans. I love him. What he's done for Leicester over the past few years is just fantastic. I can't praise him highly enough. I had to back Kamara because he's just been fantastic for us this season. And with the other number 10, it was, I can't go for 3 kind of a little bit more defensive-minded midfielders. So that's why I went for Kamara over Tielemans. But yeah, I mean, I can't praise Tielemans enough. And I've got no problems with him getting in this team at all. I just think Kamara just suited my team a little bit better.
Because he was a Villa player. Fair play.
Yeah. Honestly, his injury is going to cripple us. He's been fantastic for us. The tackles that he makes, he's just everywhere. He's just everywhere on the pitch. And I really hope he's not out for too long, because you'll see now. I mean, I'm terrified. We've got Leeds on Sunday, and we're going to have to go back to Douglas Luiz in the 6, who can do a good enough job, but it's not his out-and-out position. He is more of a number 8 than a number 6, and we're really going to struggle without that backbone of Kamara. And I'm really worried. I've got to be honest.
Fair play, man. D, obviously, I can't remember who you went for now. Who'd you go for in the middle?
Paulinho,
as well as Bruno Guimaraes.
No, I went for Ruben Neves as like a number 8, and then of course number 10. We'll talk about it, but that's fairly obvious. So yeah, I looked at the balance. I think Bruno Guimaraes like is a decent shout. Of course, I think I'm not against it, but I think if you're looking at, I was thinking more about form this season. Even though Guimaraes hasn't had a bad season, I just think what's happening at Fulham in comparison to Newcastle, I think that's what edges it for me for Paulinho to go into that side, because lots of people came into the season thinking about what are Fulham going to do, and he's played a massive part in terms of Fulham's start to the season, and that's why I picked him over Guimaraes. But as I said, I could have easily picked one of the two of them. So
yeah, Paulinho is a good shout, and the other two other lads said he's got to get in. Emilio obviously was one of them, but I can't remember the other guy was now.
Team? Like, can you just is it literally all Fulham players?
Emilio's team is. I think he's got 5 Fulham players in there.
He's got Mitrovic up front, hasn't he? That's a given.
Listen, he's got Mitrovic as a given. But you know what? I could kind of understand that one, but some of the others, wow. Anthony.
Everyone else has done it. I hardly had any Palace players, and it was like,
everyone said, "D's going to pick Palace players," and I was thinking, I was just smiling, thinking he hasn't,
exactly.
But there we go. So Bruno Guimaraes and Tielemans, I don't think we can really say much more than that. Really, I thought for me, those two were easy to pick. I didn't really make too much time, and the other guy that was easy to walk in, and for me would walk into most teams in the number 10. 7 people went for James Maddison.
Absolutely.
I don't know how you can't. Yeah. D was like, I was like, D, you haven't picked Maddison, and he's like, shit, I better change it.
I picked Eze.
Don't say you put Kamara.
No, I picked Eze. I was, funny enough, I was actually, of course, I forgot about Maddison, but if you want to give a shout out and make Maz happy, Pascal Gross, in terms of like what he's done this season, even though he's not like a outright number 10 in midfield, he's been solid. Like, I'll give him that. That's the only thing I'm giving.
Solid as far as it's going as well.
Yeah, he's solid. But yeah, James Maddison, as bad as Leicester are doing so far this season, he's been one of the key players, and you can still see his talent. Unless you're Southgate, which that guy, terms and conditions, like, he can't see it.
How is that right? Honestly, man, Ash, this guy saved your bacon, bro, this season. I don't know how that's possible when you're down at the bottom. But this guy has been fantastic for you, man. Like, he has been so good. Like, I look at most of the performances that Leicester have had this season, and I'm thinking, how is this guy doing this with this dead team at the moment? Like, honestly, you guys have been poor, and this guy's been class, man.
Yeah, he's still playing as if he's playing in a side oozing with confidence, and players alongside him that have put in just as much effort in, but he's doing it all on his own. He's been absolutely fantastic, which sort of backs the last few weeks when I've said I still get excited watching Leicester up top, but it's just at the back. And the main reason is Maddison. He's absolutely phenomenal. And all the rumours again, and Newcastle is sniffing ready for January, but please, not this season.
Imagine if you lose him, man. Jesus Christ. Yeah. Now, let's be honest, right? I'll ask you all this. I can see him leaving. I mean, I think that's clear. It will happen eventually, whether it's this season or next. Who do you think he would make better out of the top 6 teams or 7 teams? You can include Newcastle in that as well, because I honestly don't think there's many that he doesn't make better than what they are already. Like, he would honestly do better in Tottenham, for me, Arsenal, Chelsea. I think he'd probably have a shout at the moment to get in that Liverpool midfield. That don't look too hard. Maybe like Man City are the only ones. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think City. Yeah, apart from City, you can get into any other side. But the benefit with him as well is that he's not. How old is he? Because I'm just trying to look that up.
26,
24.
Yeah. He's
okay.
25. He's 25. Apparently.
Okay,
26. Soon, anyways. I think if you consider everything together, maybe even the name came. The first thing that came up to my head was Manchester United, as like in terms of their long-term future, in terms of what they're trying to build. He's still like 25, 26. He hasn't reached his peak. He can grow within that club. Man City, no. Arsenal, Would you want him, Dan? Like,
Yeah, 100% I would, bruv.
you're taking?
100% I would. I wanted him ahead of Erdegaard, bro. Remember this show? I did this show, and everyone said it would be close.
Yeah.
I love this kid, man.
I'd have
18 goals,
Odegaard.
12
He's
assists
amazing.
last
He's
season.
amazing.
Unbelievable footballer, man. Erdegaard, I like him a lot. You know I do, but his goal ratio is poor compared to Maddison. 4 goals and 7 assists last season. Nah, man.
Yeah.
Maddison, 18 goals, 12 assists. Come on, man. What an absolute baller. And this season, he's absolutely killing it, man. Like, this absolute buffoon in the waistcoat looks past him every single time. And he is absolute head and shoulders above some of those players that he's trying to force into this England side. Honestly, man, this kid is sick. I absolutely love the kid, and I'd love him at Arsenal. I'd happily pay 75 million. I think he's wicked. So, Pete, it's looking like he's going to be a Newcastle boy, man.
But if you listen to the reports, all the Northeast journalists are saying the same, that Newcastle are coming in January and willing to pay as much as 50 million to get him. We have to remember that he'll only have a year and a half left on his contract. So Leicester are going to be in a difficult position, because if they get to a year left on his contract, it doesn't look like he's going to sign one, if I'm honest with you. No. Unless there's a radical change and a new manager comes in and they whip up Leicester and all their fortunes change. I can't see personally him committing to another contract, because it's not really for him about money. I think it's been well documented. He wants to get in the England team, and he wants to be able to play in a team that's going the other direction, that's going up. And it doesn't, Ash might think differently, but it doesn't look like Leicester are going to be going in that direction in the near future. And there's been lots of talk that a lot of the top Leicester players want to leave. It was even said in the summer after our second bid that he would be keen to come to Newcastle. So we've already got past that hurdle. It's just about the money. And the one thing I'll say is that, and I've mentioned this on Twitter when the first links came out in the last few days, it's either now or never for us. Because I honestly believe if we wait till the summer, Arsenal, Tottenham, lots of other clubs will come in and snap him up, because he'll be even cheaper than 40, 50 million by
we won't go for him now. We got Vieira and Odegaard. We ain't going to go for him, unfortunately.
The benefit for us is that in January, where teams might not have that level of money available to spend on one player, we will. And we'll be able to maximize.
You have to get him in January, man. You just have to go. You know what? Exactly. You have to do exactly what you did with Bruno, because Arsenal was sniffing around him. You just went, no, we'll just take him now. And for me, that's what you have to do with Maddison. Even if it costs you 60 or 70, just get him. It's not like you need to save the pennies now, Pete. Do you know what I'm saying? Just go get him. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So that's what I'd do, man. But he was a shoo-in. Everybody went for him. And the only reason that people didn't go for him is because they went 4-4-2, so they played 2 holding midfielders, and then Maddison didn't get in, which, to be fair, is fair. This front three is interesting, by the way. This front three is very interesting. So there's been some strange ones, but also some. I won't say the strange ones actually, because they're all good players. But overall, I'm not so sure. I think some people are going by form. So Trossard got one vote. D, you all right with that?
I want Maz here, because Maz talks a lot about delusion and stuff. And I've heard Lewis Clark, I've heard Trossard, I've heard a lot of deluded picks. And you can see it because he's literally the only person out of everyone else that picks these players.
He must have done that on purpose, to be fair.
No, this is him. This is him. I've been telling guys, Maz is trying to do that role reversal. He's trying to call me deluded, and he's doing the opposite. He's trying to look at his picks. Lewis Dunk and Trossard. I'm not saying nothing, man. I'm not saying nothing.
Fair play, man. Podence got a shout. I thought that was fair. He's been a good player, man. Daniel Podence. I like him a lot. Very good player. Jack Harrison got a mention from Leeds. Been a good player for the last couple of years, actually, and I think deserves a mention. The other person who got a vote was my vote. I went Pedro Neto. Man, I think this guy's a baller. Yeah. Absolute baller. Right foot, left foot, right wing, left wing. Yeah, he's going to be a ridiculously good player if he stays fit. I've got a lot of time for this kid, man. I think he's going to be quality. Who else was there? That was it. The other votes were obvious. We've got an easy right winger and an easy left winger. 8 votes, Zaha.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Right, like 100%. And then the other 4 votes were ASM. Saint Maximin.
Yeah,
had to be.
That's debatable. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Pete. No, I'm sorry. This is a helping. I was waiting for this because I knew this was going to happen. All right, look. So how do I say this? Look. He's an exciting player. He's fun to watch, and I get he's been massive. But in terms of numbers, if we're talking numbers, he hasn't delivered.
Football's not always a stats game, though, is it?
But I know
he's just a joy to watch.
He's a joy to watch, but fair enough. But if you're looking at a team that's willing to win, you need guys who is a joy to watch and also manage to get them goals.
I get that, but he's pulled Newcastle through mud for a long time since he's come in.
The manager that they had and the type of football that they were playing, it was literally Saint Maximin that had the creativity. So he was the main link for them to go forward. For me, Pete, look, you can have your say. I love him as a player, but this is a conversation that should be had with Saint Maximin as well. Does his end product match the hype that he's also getting? Because I have to say, we had a similar player, Yannick Bolasie. He was very good. Everyone was talking about him, man, more than Zaha at times. But when he came to the end product, and we had a similar player, when he came to the end product, he just didn't deliver as much. And when we sold him for 30 million, it was one of the best business that we've done. Because, at the end of the day...
Do you know what, though, right? Do you know what? Before you come in, Pete, because I will let you come back on that, I'm actually going to side with D here. And it's the reason I didn't pick him. Because I like him technically. But does he score goals? I'm not so sure. He's basically like Alex Iwobi on roids to me.
He's not that
That's
bad.
an insult. That is a proper insult.
He's not that bad.
I didn't even go that far. The fact that you compared it to Alex Iwobi.
No, listen. I'm of course tongue. I'm in course tongue in cheek. I guess what I'm getting at is, does he deliver? And I don't think the answer. I think the answer has to be no. I've not seen him score more than 4 goals a season, 5 goals a season, something crazy like that.
That is scary for a player that gets talked about as much as Saint Maximin. That is, come on, like this is a conversation that everyone needs to have. Is he? Is he that player? Is he that player that you put in at 11 in terms of winning when there's other options? I'm not too sure. I'm not.
Who else is there, out of curiosity?
The ones that people went for, as I said, were Pedro Neto, Daniel Pedets, Jack Harrison, and who was the other guy? Trossard.
See, I'd personally have St. Maximin over all of those every day of the week.
Yeah. I would.
Neto's the only one that I'm possibly considering. But for me, it's St. Maximin over all of them, personally.
Yeah. So in 21, he scored 3 goals. 22, he scored 5 goals, and this season he scored 1 goal. Is that top elite level? I don't know. Maybe it is.
He's been out injured. No, he's been out. Cool. He missed a few games.
Yeah, this is league, by the way. Just the league. This is.
Yeah. He missed a few games this season.
Look, it's an interesting one because look, Dee, what you're saying is actually this is an argument within the fan base, and it has been for 6, 8, 9 months. About ASM is that people are saying his end product's not there and all the rest of it, but you've got to remember, and I think Ash and Billy, I think have made good points as well. Is that for 2 years he was basically carrying the club on his back.
Yeah,
he was literally under Steve Bruce. It was literally the tactic of give ASM the ball and just let him try and take on as many players as possible and create some magic. Now, for a young player coming in at 22, 23 years old, having to be expected to do that in a brand new league, in the Premier League, best league in the world, I think, yes, the numbers weren't there. He did have a number of injuries as well because, as it's been well documented, we barely ever trained. So he wasn't under the training regime and the structure and the tactical awareness that he is under Eddie Howe. Now, what he's had to get used to under Eddie Howe, certainly in the first 2 or 3 months, is the way in which to play within a system. And that's the one thing that ASM found really difficult for the early part of Eddie Howe's reign. At the back end of the season, he started to then perform. Why? Because tactically he started to be understanding what was expected. So it's almost like he's learning all over again. And this is what a lot of fans don't understand, a lot of Newcastle fans don't understand, he's literally learning how to play the game all over again. Because even when you go back to Nice, you just get the ball and you just run. Like, at some point, you've got to be able to be tactically aware. And he knows he has to do this if he wants to break into the France squad. What you've seen this season, in my opinion, bearing in mind he's missed the last 3 games, including against Bournemouth, including against Palace. And I think both of those games, off the back of what he did against Man City and obviously the wonder goal against Wolves, I think he would have made the difference for Newcastle in those 2 games. But already, last season he had... Every season that he's played in, he's made improvements in terms of his output, in terms of goals and assists. Last season, it was 5 goals, 5 assists. That's the best return we've had from him, in any of his seasons that he's had for Newcastle. So what I've always said for him is that, yes, he needs to be better. So I've said, right, we need 15 goal contributions, 17 goal contributions this season. He's already got 2 assists and he's scored, and he's only played, 4 games? So that's not a bad return in terms of what he's already done in 4 games this season. Let's see how he then comes back from his injury, because apparently he'll be back maybe off the bench at the weekend, back fit. Let's see how he goes there. But I'll be honest with you, the Man City game aside, because he was the best player on the pitch that game, I actually think that ASM has come back and he's been far better than we've ever seen him in the shirt. And the one thing with ASM, which grinds on me because people don't see it, is that ASM might not play the pass to get the assist or score the goal, but he'll play the pass and make the move before the
pre-assist. The pre-assist, as people call it.
He is the classic. You watch a lot of our movements. You look at the Forest game, for example. Both the goals that we scored were through ASM's. He was the pass that made the assist, that made the goal, or he made the run, and people don't see that.
That's because of how dangerous he is.
Yeah, he has.
He draws 2 players. It was like Grealish when he was at Villa. 2 players would have to mark him, and then he's leaving space for Matt Targett, for example. Same player, same position, to then whip that ball across, and you've got Wilson, Isaac, Ollie Watkins in there to get the goals and to put them in the back of the net. That's what St. Maximin does. It's what Grealish did.
He's great.
There's a fear with ASM. Having him in the team, he might not be the guy that gets you the goal or gets you the assist, but just having him in the team already heightens the opposition. They makes them instantly think. I was at the game at Molineux, and it was whenever ASM got the ball, 3 players instantly went to him and stopped him playing. And that's the effect that he has, and he's got to manage that. Zaha is a fantastic player. He doesn't always have that. He doesn't always have that influence where teams physically go and stop him playing because they know how dangerous.
No, they do, bro. I have to disagree with that.
Maybe they do. I don't know, but I don't see it to the level.
I do see similarities, though. I do see similarities because back in like a few years ago. Not last season or the season, but like when Zaha, let's say 2015, 2016, the Zaha conversation was cool. He doesn't have end product. And that is similar to St. Maximin. Throughout that time, Zaha was still a threat, but in terms of his goals and maybe arguably assists, he just didn't reach there because one, wasn't great going forward as a team. And second of all, there was other players that was involved in attacking style of play. Now, with St. Maximin, of course, he's not old like Zaha. He's still a fairly young player. He might reach that level, but and it's so similar because when you're talking about teams actually going and marking St. Maximin and sending 2-3 players, that's always happened at Palace with Zaha. Like that's always, even when he wasn't scoring goals, teams always used to target him because he was our main threat going forward. But the debate with him is, as exciting as he is and as good as he is in terms of like the pre-assists, surely he can contribute with the goals and assists as well more to his game. Pete, are you happy with in front of goal? Of course he gets in situation in front of goal. Are you happy with how he is in front of goal, for example? Because we talk about goals and assists. Exactly. That's the thing. Look, he's a very good player. He still contributes massively. But when we talk about him, I feel like if we're talking about the pros and cons, people don't really talk about his end product. They talk about St. Maximin like he's of course fantastic for Newcastle, but sometimes I see the hype going over the top. If you get what I'm trying to say,
do you know what it reminds me of? Actually, it reminds me of Adama Traore. Do you remember when he came on the scene? He's like, "Oh, this guy's so good. Doesn't score. Doesn't
He
score
doesn't score,
goals.
doesn't get like he's very good in
Yeah,
terms of what he
that
does. Like he's got the strength and the pace, for example. But of course, saying Maximan is better than Adama Traore. But then again,
No, he is better, but it reminds me of that
yeah,
when everyone went on. Do you remember when everyone was going mad for Traore? And I'm like, he ain't scored for 7 weeks. Everyone's going nuts about him. I feel like that with ASM. It's like this guy's
I remember
really talented.
Adama Traore at Villa, and he's always been the same. He was.
I remember his debut. I loved him.
I remember his debut against the Emirates for Middlesbrough, and he was
Palace.
quality. It was Middlesbrough where he was at first, and I thought, who's this guy? He was wicked.
Oh no,
He weren't wicked at all. I'll tell you that.
Signed him. Billy, do you guys sign him after Middlesbrough?
No, we got him from Barcelona. He went from Villa to Borough to Wolves.
That's right.
And
I think he made his debut.
Just lightning quick, as we all know. But he just did nothing.
ASM's got in, man, because 4 people.
Let's put him in there. But it's a conversation.
We'll go with
it's a conversation that we had anyway.
Play, man. I don't think we have to discuss Zaha. Everyone loved him and knows he's getting in. There's no one comes close, man. Like he is walking into that side. Whether he's going to still be at Palace is another story, but we ain't got time for that one. He's got 1 year left on his contract, so let's see what happens, man. Right, striker. Yeah, probably. Everyone else is.
They want everyone.
Keep him. Pete's like, just keep him coming. Madison, Zaha, unbelievable. So I'm going to say to finish off with a striker, this one, someone's won it, but it's debatable because it's so close between like one vote. Yeah. And that one vote is between 4 players. The 4 players are Alexander Isak, Ivan Toney, Mitrovic, or Jamie Vardy. So the person who won it, the person who won it was Jamie Vardy.
Yeah,
and rightly so.
And I think,
Pete, did you vote for Isak?
Go on.
I went for Isak, yeah.
Oh, come on. Okay.
I got slated for going Kamara.
Why not?
Come on.
Isak is a baller.
He's a baller, but come on, like there's been
and I've gone back to watch it. It's not just about what he's done at Newcastle. He's only played a couple of games. He's played a couple of games, scored a couple of goals.
Yeah, but we're talking about the Prem, innit?
Hold on. What did we say? We talking about form? Are we talking about the Prem? But I'm talking about what he did at Real Sociedad as well. Yeah, there's a reason why we paid 60 million for him because.
Do you know who else? Do you know who else went for Isak?
Just 1 second. Just the week before we signed Alexander Isak, he was tearing up Barcelona. In La Liga, like he comes with credentials, and he's only 22 years old, and he's already been doing that. Like this is not just because he plays for Newcastle. This is because he's a damn good player at 22 years old, and he's got the world at his feet. Unfortunately, he's injured now, but. Like he's already got 2 goals for us in 2 or 3 games. Probably could have had 4 or 5. He's had one that he should have scored against Palace. He's had a couple of opportunities that you would argue you may want to put away. But trust me, this argument won't be the case when he's back fit and firing. And we're talking about this, say January, February time. We'll be talking about a guy that's got the.
I rate him. No, I rate him 100%. I rate him. But you weren't alone. There was one other person who went for Isak. Who do you reckon it was, D?
Maz.
Yeah, it was.
That's how you know it's the wrong answer, Pete. I'm sorry.
Why is Isaac not Carlos?
He let you down there. He let you down. If you didn't vote for him, you might have had a shout. But if Maz voted for him, then there must be something.
I can't put Isaac just because it's early days at Newcastle. However, I rate him. I rate him highly. I do. I think he's a quality player. But the reason I say it's debatable, and I don't really think he is debatable, but I suppose it was close in the terms of the votes. I went for Vardy. I don't think you can't. I think the player is overall the best striker out of them. I think every year he's won Golden Boot. How many of those others have won a Golden Boot? They ain't. They got near it, have they? So for me, it has to be Jamie Vardy. Ash, got to be Vardy in it.
Absolutely. He's a Premier League winning, record breaking £1 million superstar. And he's done it consistently for 6-7 years, So £1 million.
Can't really compete. Can't really like. How are you going to come back on that? Like Billy, like he's got. I don't know. Mitrovic, I get it. I like him, but he didn't do it for Newcastle. Did for Fulham this season. Tony has been fantastic, to be honest. Like I must admit, last couple of seasons, he's probably the closest for me because of the last couple of seasons I've seen it. But Jamie Vardy, man, like the guy just scores against everybody. Like record breaking, as Ash said, title winner. He's done what the others haven't done. That's win a title and a golden boot. And for me, walks in, man.
Jamie Vardy goes down as one of the greatest Premier League strikers ever. And that's why it was never even a debate for me, because he's just been that good for so long, even when he was in the Championship. But the years that you've been in the Premier League, even, he's just been sensational year on year on year on year on year. And you really, really miss him.
We do.
You really, he's not, obviously with his age and that, he's just not the player he used to be.
Yeah.
But if he was, you wouldn't be in the position that you are now.
No. And the mad thing is, I think what you'll probably see is if a new manager comes in, you might find him have a 3-4 game spell where he looks on fire again, because that tends to be a pattern with Vardy. Like, he'll make an impression when there's a big change at the club. But I can't knock him. Yeah, you are right, Billy. His age is catching up with him, and you can see that with him running off the shoulder now, slightly slower, the aggression slightly less, but still amazing.
Yeah, man, he is top drawer and has been top drawer. Bloody annoying to play against, man. I can't lie. He's always score against us, man.
Oh, jeez. His celebrations as well. His celebrations.
The
he's done the eagle. You already know about Ash. Yeah, I mean, we gave it to him. We gave it back to us. But I didn't pick Vardy. Well, I should have, but because I was thinking about form. If we're ignoring form, Jamie Vardy is like the clear winner. But if we're talking about form, I think Mitrovic and Tony. It's them two.
100%, and I agree with that. But when it comes to overall, I don't think you can look past it. We have a team, people, and do you know what? This shouts out to me. Hello, Newcastle. That's what it shouts out to me.
Yeah, you know what? You know what, Dan? There's a couple of Newcastles missing. You need to put Maddison and Tielemans in black as well. It's coming.
And Zaha.
In football, there's expecting goals. This
is Luka Dean as well.
It's really interesting because
teams.
As we were talking about Tielemans and Maddison, something pinged up on my phone, and it's another Northeast journalist saying this evening that Newcastle want both Tielemans and Maddison in January. Wow. So that's why I'm saying turn them to black, because those boys.
Do you know what, Pete? You'll probably end up with both of them, and you'll get Zaha for a free end of the season, and it will just be your Newcastle side.
No, they ain't. I'm telling you, Zaha's not moving. Like, he's not going Newcastle. He wants. If he's leaving, he's going like.
He's a gooner, man. He's coming to Arsenal. He's a gooner.
He's a gooner. But luckily he dodged a bullet there. We saved him.
Yeah, man. I tell you what, I would have rather had Zaha than Pepe any day. We got our team, guys. Pope in goal, Trippier at right back, Luka Dean at left back. We've got Mark Gay and Anderson partnership at the back for Palace. Bruno Guimaraes, Tielemans, and Maddison. What a midfield that is, by the way. We got Zaha on the left. We got Adama Iwobi on the right. Oh, sorry, Saint Maximan on the right, and then up top we got Jamie. We got Jamie Vardy.
Just leave Saint Maximan on the right side. He's just gonna be skilling the grass. He's just gonna be doing flicks and stuff, just running around in circles. Just get the ball down to the left hand side. Get the ball down to the left hand side. Let's go straight down the line. Let's create some assists. Let's get some goals. And then when we win a 3-0, we can just give it to Saint Maximan. You just do flicks, turn it around. Just running around.
To be fair, I'll never forget when he did a roulette out of the pitch against Villa.
Yeah, exactly. He can be enjoyment for the second half.
ASM is more productive on the right hand side. I've been saying it for over a year and a half now. ASM is more productive and actually creates more chances and gets more assists playing on the right hand side. So look, you're feeding into exactly what I think he needs. So keep him on the right. Keep him on the right. Happy days. And you know what? Keep him on the right, because we'll just have Zaha on the left next season. That's fine. We'll give Zaha the move that he craved for a couple of years. The move he's been
I think Zaha wants to join a club that wins games. None of these draws and stuff. He's already had that plan. He wants to win games.
He wants a team that's not going to be, just languishing. He wants a team that's going to be flourishing and pushing the other way. Come to us.
Guys,
I mean, Elise is probably going to be better than Elise Maximum, but you guys.
I love Elise.
I like Elise.
You know what? Let's get both. Why not? The squad.
And this is why lots of teams are gonna go against Newcastle because of this. Because you lot literally have the motto: if you can't beat him, literally just buy him, not join him. Just buy him.
What have we though, D? This is the thing.
Yeah.
Have we though? We haven't done that.
You're gonna do that. Look at what you're talking about. You're talking about Tielemans and Maddison joining at the same time. They're talking about.
The owners have said right from the beginning is that if there's a deal to be done and the value's right on the player, we'll buy him. We've been offered everybody this summer, players that are desperate to come to Newcastle. There wouldn't be bad signings, but we've gone, you know what, the value's not right. Maddison, we went to nearly 45, 50 million in the summer. They wanted 60. We went, nah, we're not doing that. Tielemans, we were in last day of the window. We were in, but they wanted 25, 30 million for him. We said, no, the value's not right. Newcastle United will pay what they think is realistic for a player in their eyes. They're not just going to go out and do what Man City and Chelsea did.
To be fair, Newcastle ain't done that yet. Yeah. Newcastle haven't actually done that much of a madness yet for me. So I think you're right, Pete. They're going more sensible about it than I thought. I thought they just go and buy it. I thought they do what Forest did, but with mental money. Like I'll have you.
I doubt you'll pay 100 mil for Zaha. Let's just say that. So let's just ignore.
Look, West Ham. I wish Dan was on here because West Ham have spent near enough, just as much as Newcastle have,
190 million
than we did in two. They've spent nearly.
Where's Lawless?
I should have got Lawless on here tonight. He could have done a combined 11 with with West Ham and relegation battle or something.
Yeah, exactly. Hardly anyone in it.
Do you know what? It's debatable whether they would actually get in. I think probably Rice would probably be the only one, would he not? I don't know. Exactly. Anyway, last question before we do close because we have run over. Manager to go for. We got Rodgers, we got Howe, we got Vieira, we got Bruno Lage, we got Hassan Hutel, we got Silva. Gerard.
I can tell you who it's not.
Let's go with one each. Let's go with our picks each. Go round. I'll start, man. I'm gonna, in terms of what I've seen over the last few years, I'm going Eddie Howe. Billy.
See, for me, it's between Brendan Rodgers or Patrick Vieira. I'm stuck. It's between them.
He's fighting relegation. Think about it, Billy. Look, you done this last time. I didn't back you for it. Just think about it.
Yeah, exactly. You didn't back me for it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, because you didn't back me. Let's
you know what?
You got to trust to redeem yourself.
It's Vieira. I'm going Vieira. I think he's going to be a top manager in years to come. And
see, I would go with Vieira now, but I think overall, what Eddie Howe's done at Bournemouth and now at Newcastle, I've got to go Eddie Howe.
But he got them relegated.
I get that.
I don't know what to talk about this though. Dan,
but this is Bournemouth, brother.
He took them from League Two,
to the Premier League, brother.
To the Premier League and kept them for 5 seasons. You can't just go, he got them relegated.
Right, cool. He done that, and they had some good seasons, but he spent a lot of money and he got some questionable players. And he got them relegated as well. Like no one talks about this with Eddie Howe.
20 million.
He's a great. Look, he's a good manager. He's a good manager. But look overall with Eddie Howe. Like look overall, because right now there's that recency bias. He's doing very good at Newcastle, but if you look at his career at Bournemouth, he's done fantastic. But he also got them relegated as well while spending big money on some questions.
For me, Vieira deserves a minute. I love Vieira. Obviously, it's bias of me, I suppose, but also his quality. But I think at the moment, if you said who's the on-form manager in the last couple of years, I would go Vieira because he's done a madness at Palace.
I put Brendan Rodgers over Eddie Howe. I'll say that. I put Brendan Rodgers over Eddie Howe.
Okay,
I agree.
Okay. I think Hassan Hutel deserves a mention. By the way, how the hell does he keep them up every year? Unbelievable. But he ain't gonna get it. I will go Ash. Go on, Ash. You going Rodgers?
You know what? If you could write this season off, and I suppose you've got the argument that he's not really been backed this summer, but what he's done in the Premier League is fantastic. Liverpool finished second under him. He's got us to 5th place. We flopped it the last game of the season 2 years consecutively. I'm going Rodgers. I know he's having a stinker this season, but I'm going Rodgers.
That's the only reason why I didn't go for him, because of those two Champions League spots, both missing out, and also slipping, typically with Steven Gerrard, but slipping at the last hurdle with Liverpool as well. He's that nearly man, if you know what I mean. He's done fantastic for both teams, but he's that nearly man. So that's why I went. I mean, as mad as it sounds, I went Vieira over him. But yeah, I just really like how Patrick Vieira's got Palace going. To be honest with you, that's why I went for him in the end.
We'll go Pete, and then we'll let D have the last word. Pete, who are you going with?
Yeah, I think Rodgers is a good shout. You got Leicester to what, 2 5th-place finishes, back-to-back seasons, or 5th or 6th place finishes. Very, 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 very good job. But for me, he gave you guys a 14-game head start.
Oh,
right? He gave you a 14-game head start.
We was focusing on real stuff. There's Europe going on. Like everyone, there's like people fighting relegation, people fighting for Europe. Like Newcastle literally was just there, like just for vibes. Like everyone had an objective. Newcastle just having fun. Now 14 games is finished. Now this season 1-7. Yeah. That speaks volumes because we're all on the same page. We started at the same time.
But as you know, D, because look, D, Vieira's gone through bad patches. He's gone through patches where he couldn't even buy a win. So it's not like he's been a miracle manager. And look, you're talking about Patrick Vieira, and I like Patrick Vieira. I think he's a good manager.
Him, by the way.
I will be good.
You don't even know if I'm going to vote
him. But for me, Eddie Howe came in, and we didn't win a match for 14 games, but still finished above Palace.
Cheers.
So you can't argue that. He's done a fantastic job. And we've won 1-7, but we've only lost 1-7. And even so, it could change quite quickly. We get a few results back to back. We're flying up league. I think we're sitting in 11th, 10th place at the moment, even with only winning 1 game. So you can argue that actually it's not been a bad start, although we've only won 1 game. So
I don't know another manager that would do what he's done, man, in terms of taking a League 2 player. Who has done that? I think Keegan did it with Fulham back in 2000. Yeah. Unreal, man. Unreal. D, who you going for, man?
I'm going to pick Bruno Lage now, chat. I'm going to go for, you know what? I'll pick Brendan Rodgers for now because everyone wants me to pick Patrick Vieira, but I'm going to pick Brendan Rodgers because even though he's had, why laughing?
Everyone wants me to pick Vieira. No one cares, bro. Just pick who you think.
But I'm gonna go for Brendan Rodgers. He's done it in a longer period of time. If we're not talking about form, if we're not talking about recency, Brendan Rodgers, I think that's the clear answer. Eddie Howe, he's got a team relegated before Brendan Rodgers, who's fighting for Champions League. So there's a clear difference in both managers in terms of what they've been aiming for. So I'm picking Brendan Rodgers.
Okay, man. Listen, I think it's fair, man, between the two, to be honest. But me and Pete have lost out, so it's going to be Brendan Rodgers that gets the nod. You three have gone for that, so fair play. I know, Billy, you went for Vieira, but you said Rodgers you'd go for over Howe, so I'll have to give it to Rodgers. Guys, this has been well enjoyable, man. This has been good fun.
It's been good, man.
I was thinking, no Maz and D, but it's actually been D and Pete tonight. It's been class.
I didn't mean it.
He came to me early doors, so I was just popping off that. But look, it's been enjoyable. D, we always have a laugh.
Exactly. You can't take these stuff too serious at times, man.
Absolutely,
my
man.
Newcastle agenda still goes on. It goes on. I put it to publicly. It'll keep carrying on until I see it. Until I see it with Eddie Howe.
Love it, man. Love it. Listen, boys, thank you so much for joining. Thank you for joining in the chat. Please smash the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Get over to AV Billy on socials and Total Screamers podcast. Do exactly the same thing. Make sure you follow Ash on socials, D Palace Back of the Net podcast, and of course, Loaded Mag over at Pete Dave's 2010. Guys, it's been a pleasure. Football is now back. We'll be back next week to discuss what is happening with all of our wonderful football teams. I just hope that I'm not crying into my Kleenex because it's the North London derby, and my God, I cannot accept losing that one. So we will see you next week, guys. Take it easy. Peace out and up the Arsenal. Take care.